players left. Pulls up, looking for the lead, and got it. Jalen Williams, 2 seconds, 111-109. Now SGA, probing, piercing, spinning, hanging for the lead, and SGA knocks it down. The Thunder finally get the defensive stop, and SGA puts them in front.
I'm Kenrich Williams. You're listening to Topic Thunder.
You heard it from Kenny Hustle. You know what it is. Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Top Thunder Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Hunting at Thunder Chats. We're part of the Big Lead Network, and this podcast is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. Now that is out of the way, I got to get to my lovely co-host. First of all, we've got the producer extraordinaire, no longer the cockroach connoisseur, but the tyrannical one, Matty Double Dribbles Tyranny. What is up, sir?
I'm good. It's a great day when you beat the Houston Rockets, not only just winning, but winning by 20 plus. Best offense of the season. It's just a great day to be a Thunder fan. Just happy to break it down with the fellas.
Absolutely. And one of the fellas that we have on here, we're actually not sure the last time he was on the pod. We was talking about this earlier today. Don't know how many times we've got to hear his opinions on this team since the season started, but he's here today. The man, the myth, the legend, the underscone, the hardest working man in basketball content, Connor Cone. What up, sir?
Not much. Doing good. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I've been on the podcast like once since the season started. I told you earlier on the phone, I don't even think I had been on since the season began. Yeah, Tierney shaking his head.
What a shame.
I don't think I have been on. It's been a very busy start to the season for me because basketball is my job, or covering the NBA. So there's a lot going on with me on my own front, but it's good to be able to hop on here and talk OKC, especially after, their best offensive game of the season, just destroying the Houston Rockets. Great games from pretty much everybody. There's like really nobody who played bad today. So yeah, it's exciting. 8-1 right now, one of the best starts in franchise history, and they're looking good. Tied for the 1 seed.
Yeah, just looking back through our episodes, it doesn't look like you've been on this season yet.
I don't think I have. Like, I was on right before the year began, but no, man, it's been busy. So I'm happy I finally get to talk some Thunder hoops.
Yeah. And, just a moment of melancholy because, unfortunately, the Oklahoma City Thunder will not be finishing the season 82-0.
Dang it.
We'll have to settle for 81-1 because we did lose against the Nuggets. We don't have to talk too much about that because the Rockets game was much more enjoyable. And I think a truer representation of what this Thunder team truly is. So we're going to talk about all that and more in the segment we like to call the single large item. All right, boys, jumping into the single large item. I guess you can combine these if you want to pull points from the Nuggets game, but I guess mainly talking about the Rockets game because, as I said, I think that there's more to pull from that for most players. But he hasn't been on in a while, so I'm going to give him. I'm gonna pass the torch to him for the first pick here. Colin, what's your single large item?
You said for this for the Nuggets game, right?
Rockets.
Okay.
Yeah, Rockets, but you could pull from the Nuggets if you want to.
Nah, I don't want to pull from that game. Let's see. Let's talk about, not that it was a bad game. Like, people are freaking out. Real quick, my message about that game is the Nuggets couldn't miss from the outside. They are still, I know they started the season bad, but they're still a good team. Jokic is the best player in the world, and Russ had 30. Like, Peyton Watson was out there hitting threes. There's not a lot you could do. Sometimes people are just going to have big games. And Denver is one of the hardest places in the NBA to play. In the GM survey, like every year, they vote Denver as having like the best home court advantage. So got to calm down. You're going to lose games. I mean, last year we were the 1 seed. We lost the Pistons, like 14, 15 win Pistons team. So chill out a little bit. And this game kind of helped out too. Obviously, there's a lot of ways you could go for the single large item for this one. But I want to shout out Chet. What Chet's done so far this season. I haven't gotten a chance to talk about him on the podcast quite yet. 29 points. That's a season high. 5 boards, 1 assist, 3 blocks, 8 of 14 shooting, 4 of 6 from the outside as well. It's one of the big things. And also 9 of 10 from the free throw line. One of the things you need to do in the NBA to elevate to a superstar level eventually, especially if you want to be a high level scorer, is to get to the free throw line. And this comes from Thunder Focus. Shout out to him. Chet's free throw rate from last year till now. Last year, it was a .289 free throw rate. So 3.4 free throw attempts per game. So basically about 28.9% of the time he was going ahead and getting to the line. Right now it's at 44.2. So it's not quite doubled, but it's substantially higher from where we saw it last season. And that's huge. The fact that Chet's able to get to the line more. And I think that's a product of him being more physical, of him attacking more, just more aggressive, going into contact rather than shying away from it. And that's big. Like, you want to be able to get to the line. The Thunder so far this season have really not gotten to the line very much. They had the lowest free throw rate in the entire league, I believe, coming into tonight, which you don't really expect from a team that does have Shai, who's one of the biggest threats to get
throw
inside.
Merchant.
Yeah, you know, they have the free throw merchant Shai, who really just drives more than basically anybody else in the league. They've got Dub, who likes to attack and get downhill. They do shoot a good number of threes, and they've been shooting more to start this season, so it explains that there would be a drop, but it's a way more substantial drop than you would expect. And in this game, it does feel like the Thunder got a lot more respect going to the line, although, like, Shai had 7 attempts, Chet had 10, but outside of that, really not a lot else outside. And it was a really physical start to the game. Like,
Houston actually was ahead of them in free throw attempts today too, even though we got more.
Yeah, they had 26 free throw attempts to the 23 from the Thunder. And, you know, it's the early season. It feels like they're still figuring out how to officiate the game, you know, how much physicality they're going to allow. Shout out to Alex Bowlerjack, who just said fellas in the chat.
The GOAT.
Shout out to him. But yeah, it feels like at the beginning of the game, they're letting guys be really, really physical, and that changed a little bit here and there throughout the rest of the game. But Chet has done a good job of seeking out that physicality. And it wasn't just that. Like, in this game, attacking downhill against Steven Adams, who is, you know, a Thunder legend. We love the guy, but he's pretty slow-footed at this point in his career. So Chet was just attacking at him off the dribble. Same thing with Şengün. He had one really good play where he attacked him on the right, spun left, and Şengün had no choice but to go ahead and wrap him up to prevent him from just getting a wide open layup. He's just gotten so much better over the course of this early going of the season. I know he just came off a couple of rougher offensive games, but when you're a young player finding your stride, there are going to be those moments. But the highs this season so far have been so ridiculously high. 4 threes as well in this game, 4 of 6 from downtown, including that one a couple of times where he got a flyby on that one in the corner, got the flyby on the 3, repositioned and shot it. I don't know if I've ever seen Chet do that. It's one of the very few times where he's taken that 3. Usually it feels like when Chet gets that first 3-point attempt, if it doesn't, you know, it's not a clean look, he'll go ahead and just drive in or kick it over to somebody else. He's not often seeking out like a second or third try at that 3-point shot. This time he did. He also had that one 3 where he's got Şengün isolated on the perimeter. It hits that off the dribble sidestep 3, which is something that also Chet really never does. He's just become so aggressive, confident, and very calculated with his moves, a lot more than I feel like we saw last season. And there are still some moments where he gets stripped while he's down low in the paint because, you know, he's a bit of a lankier guy. He'll put the ball maybe lower than you would want him to, but that's all stuff that he's learning from. And those learning experiences are going to be big when we get to the playoffs and we need more offensive production around Shai. And Chet so far is taking a leap. He's looking firmly like an all-star so far this season. I really don't think there's any argument. And, you know, trying not to be biased, but I feel like genuinely from watching the entire NBA this season, Chet Holmgren is the defensive player of the year right now, especially with the Thunder having easily the best defense in the association, because the Warriors were second and they got eviscerated by the Cavaliers tonight. Like, give up 136 points. Let me see if they have it updated. This is the player defensive rating. Vlatko Cancar has the lowest individual player defensive rating, by the way, if you're wondering, at a 0, because I don't think he's played this season. Now, after the games tonight, the Thunder have a defensive rating of 97.3, which is 9.2 points higher than the second place Golden State Warriors, who are sitting at 106.5. And that difference of 9.2 is the difference. That is the second place difference. From the Warriors, 9.2 points down. That is at the 22nd defense. So the Thunder have a bigger gap between them and the Warriors, or the same gap between them and the Warriors that the Warriors have to the 22nd ranked defense. That's how dominant they've been on that end. And Chet is the main reason why. It's also Caruso, it's Kaysen, it's Shai. It's really everybody. This is one of the best defensive teams that's been assembled in a long time. But Chet as that anchor just made everything look impossible out there. I mean, Şengün was 3 of 12 from the field tonight. So
yeah, the defense in general just feels like, even though it's been as incredible as it is, it feels sustainable. And a lot of the reason is for Chet. I'm still very surprised he is not that close to Wemby in the Vegas odds for Depoy. I
thought he moved as the favorite a couple days ago.
He's current. I mean, maybe this hasn't been updated since this game, but DraftKings has Wemby at +100, Chet at +300. I still feel like that's really good value for Chet, but
yeah, I mean, it makes sense just because Wemby gets a lot of the highlights. He's like a big time shot blocker and things. Not that Chet doesn't. Chet absolutely gets defensive highlights, but everybody, the way that they were looking at him going into the season, I feel like if it's like kind of close, they'll probably lean Wemby. But if the Thunder's defense stays this good, I don't see any way you don't give it to somebody on the Thunder. And Chet has been the guy. Although I know Caruso didn't hit threes until tonight, which, hey guys, look, Caruso can actually shoot from the outside. It's almost like there was always going to be a regression to the mean. But it's just insane after watching Caruso for years on other teams, how insane he is defensively. Like, oh my God, his ability to get his hands on every single ball you could possibly get your hands on. It's crazy. But yeah, Chet, defensive player of the year right now, for sure in my eyes. And I don't really think there's that much of an argument for anybody else over him. Like Draymond's been great. He's probably in that conversation too, but the Warriors defense is nowhere near what OKC's is right now. So yeah, man. I mean, Chet, right now, it's more of a conversation about if Chet should be close to an all-star starter than if he should be in the all-star game at all. Also, you mentioned tyranny, like, is it sustainable? You said it like yourself. It seems sustainable. And honestly, I think there's even a chance for it to get better when iHeart comes back.
Right. Yeah. Alex Bullerjack in the chat was talking about how much longer before iHeart is back because, the defense will just ramp up so much more from there. But yeah, just one other thing I wanted to add on Chet's game is I think the 3-point shooting was awesome. He was on fire. I thought he had a really good touch around the rim too. He had some nice little push shots that just it was his offense was so nice. He was one of those guys we did a post game on the Nuggets game that we're gonna try not to mention too much because it sucked. But Chet was not great from that offensive end and he was okay defensively. I don't think it was a bad game by any stretch, but you kind of knew him and Shai both were going to come into this game fired up, ready to kind of have a bounce back game. And that was exactly what we saw. It was very predictable. So shout out Chet. I also thought, I know Houston did get a lot of offensive rebounds because they're a good offensive rebound team, but I thought Chet kind of minimized that a little bit. Not that he got a lot of rebounds himself, but he just was a little disruptive on that end and at least tipped the ball to other people, did stuff like that. So I thought he did a good job of minimizing the damage in second point attempts from Houston. So yeah, it was just overall one of the better Chet performances this season.
Oh yeah, I mean is that his career high? Did he hang 30 against the Warriors last year?
Yeah, he had 30 against the Warriors. He also had 30 plus against the Sixers last year.
Okay.
Yeah, the overtime game.
It's definitely a season high though. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the season high. Career high is 36 against the Warriors, which 36. I mean, if that was in Chet, we know Chet likes playing the Warriors. We got the Warriors next.
That was an overtime game though, so
it was more minutes for sure. But
did he even score in the overtime? I honestly don't remember if he.
Don't cook my agenda immediately. That's crazy.
Cook his agenda.
I'm just saying. I mean, I think it's more. I just want to give Chet a better career high. If he scored 36 in a regulation game than OT, it's not that big of a difference. But I'm just trying to boost the Chet stock. That's all I'm trying to do.
Gotta ramp it up.
No, I feel that. I will say, obviously, the 3-point shot, that's the kicker. We hadn't seen Chet knock down the three super consistently, last year down the stretch. And, that was always one of the big things that was alluring to him or to us for him offensively is just the way that he's able to space the floor. And he's kind of been around the rim a lot more recently. But this year, he's really stretching it out, man. And it's the variety because, the whole thing with the Chet and Wemby, the type of shots they're getting, it's Chet's taking catch and shoots created by Shai and Dub. Wemby's having to create these step back, 36 footers at the end of the shot clock. It's Chet's got some of that in his bag as well. That one sidestep three he had against Şengün, it wasn't even at the end of the shot clock. There was 5 or 6 seconds left. But, going into the draft, going into high school, Chet got a lot of comparisons to KD. And as he's come into the league, he's kind of played a lot more like Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett with a little bit of floor spacing. That play right there, KG don't have that in his bag. That was full on Kevin Durant inspired. And, if his self-creation continues to, kind of move along, as well as, Shai, who was just absolutely unstoppable tonight. Dub, who was a little bit more quiet tonight, but was getting whatever he wanted against the Denver Nuggets. If all those guys are able to just basically create a bucket whenever they want to, it's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be crazy. Tierney, I'm gonna go to you
real quick. I'm gonna say, after all the concern about people saying, "Oh my God, Chet's 3-ball, where did it go at the beginning of the season?" After today, he's back up to 40%. So
there you go. Hashtag efficiency,
what happened?
Baby.
40%. What happened?
Yeah, man. Right now, shooting 52% from the field, 40% from 3, and 78% from the line. If we can get that, just get that free throw percentage up a little bit, Chet, we can talk 50, 40, 90, man. You got it.
Yeah. Tierney, go ahead and jump on your single large item. I've got to run and check on Nova again. Chelsea's called me like 3 times, so
no worries. Well, I'll save Dylan the one I'm sure he wants. I'm gonna go with if you can get it on any betting site for NBA Rookie of the Year, go ahead and just get a little money line on AJ Mitchell, because some good money there. He was the reason that second quarter we created that 20-point gap in that second quarter, and that was started by him. I think it was back-to-back plays where he went up on Şengün. Both times was able to either score or get an and one in one of those ones. He was able to find Aaron Wiggins and other shooters multiple times in that quarter, ended up with 7 assists on his 12 points as well. 1 of 2 from 3 as well, just to throw that in there. I think maybe that 3 was at the end of garbage time. It was. So, but still, he can hit his threes. But AJ Mitchell in that second quarter was electric, and you kind of saw why Mark Daigneault has been giving him the minutes he's been getting throughout the season so far. Alex Caruso in the post game too kind of mentioned it too. Like, people don't realize how good of a player he is. Was able to show it tonight, and not only is he able to like make plays for himself, but he is playing within the offense, within transitions. He's like finding the right guys in the half court offense. He's just making the right passes. There was a play where I think it was the third quarter where all 5 guys touched the ball like pretty quick back to back, and he was just very seamlessly a part of that offense. Ended up being like an Isaiah Joe 3, I think. And so those types of plays from a rookie who's only played 9 games at this point, you don't see that very often. So I think his efforts need to be applauded. Also, one other thing, like defensively, he had a strip ball on Steven Adams of all players, which was like, how the hell do you rip the ball from Steven Adams? But he did. So it was just like, damn, that was awesome. So and he had 3 steals in total. So like defensively, he's right there with some of these other guys too, and able to be a part of that defensive impact we've been talking about, the sustainable. So yeah, AJ Mitchell, he's had a couple of games here and there where, he's a rookie. He's going to be a little bit off some nights, but tonight was one of those nights once again where it's like he is legitimately a guy for this team. Just another guard that we have that can make an impact. So I loved it. I think AJ Mitchell, I don't know how it's going to be. My thought before tonight was, well, AJ Mitchell is been great, pretty good, but November 8th, I think maybe it's a couple days after, is when the G League starts. And it's like, you kind of have to wonder if they're playing these rookies now just to give them time, and then they'll kind of go off into the G League and develop from there. I really don't know now if AJ is going to be just sent off and kind of a part of the G League anymore. I kind of start to think that he might actually stay around and get some limited minutes. I think Dylan Jones is probably gone, but I don't know. AJ to me feels like a guy that could stick on this roster and this lineup, even after Hartenstein's back and those other guys are back.
Yeah, I mean, AJ's been great. It's been up and down here and there because he is a rookie. He's trying to figure things out. But man, he's steady in a lot of these minutes, giving us a really solid ball handler off the bench. He gave us some real juice, like you said, in that second quarter. He was orchestrating everything. Some really good attacks downhill. That one midi that he hit over Şengün, I believe it was, where he stopped, pump faked, like turn around like he was going to pass, pumped again, and then hit it. like that's a really good move. No panic at all. Kind of got trapped right there in the middle and just was patient, waited until the space cleared up, and then hit the little jumper there. AJ is really fun. I think he's probably going to end up more in the G League just because he's on the two-way right now. So I think he probably gets some more minutes there. But I mean, he feels a guy like a Lou Dort where he's going to get some time in the G. But if by the end of the season he's on a standard contract, I'm not surprised whatsoever because he has the capability to actually like compete already. He's just like ahead of what you would typically expect from a lot of rookie guards, I feel like. And Caruso, I think, said it best in the post-game interview when Nick Gallo asked him about AJ Mitchell. And he was like, man, AJ is really good. He's like, people aren't going to know it yet because we're a good team, but AJ is really good. And I think that's the case, that AJ is really good, but because the Thunder are one of the best teams in the league and have so much talent up and down the roster, it's going to be hard for him to get the recognition that he deserves. It's probably going to result in him going down to the G League. Like, it's just not gonna, it won't allow him to quite do what I think he's capable of actually doing because of the situation that he's in. But it does also allow him to have a chance to develop his game. And the thing with AJ too, I mean, that maybe makes him stick up in with the team for longer. Like maybe because we do still have that empty roster spot, maybe they just sign him like straight up and they're like, hey, actually, you're good. We don't need to send down to the G League. We feel good about what you're doing up here. Because Sam Presti after the season talked about the passing, the playmaking, how the Thunder needed more of that. Like Dallas had a ton of it, and it led to the Thunder not being able to quite keep up with them offensively. Like 7 dimes for AJ, and it feels like he's doing a great job of finding the open man, of orchestrating within the offense, but popping when he needs to. Not every minute's been pretty, but tonight, I mean, against a really good Rockets team, or I don't know if I'd say really good. I guess it depends.
They were a top 5 defense before this game. So, I mean,
yeah, really good defense is where I meant to go with that. But against a really good defensive team with the guys that can really fluster you and cause problems, I mean, he really wasn't worried at all. Like, I mean, until the final shot that he took, he was perfect from the floor.
Yeah.
Had 3 steals, like you mentioned, 12 points, some really good moves downhill. It wasn't like he was getting wide open looks off the gravity of other players. I mean, he was creating those shots himself. So, yeah, ton of credit to AJ for what he's done. Really just so many guys on the bench deserve shout outs. Obviously Isaiah Joe, he started some games, but other games it's coming off the bench. 14 points from him. He had 3 threes tonight, including that one off a dime of AJ Mitchell's. It was the end of the first quarter, I believe, right? Where right before the buzzer, Isaiah Joe hit that 3, or was that going into halftime?
No, it wasn't a half, so I think it was the first.
Okay.
No, maybe it was half because Isaiah Joe didn't hit anything in the first quarter.
Okay, yeah, then it must have been halftime. So yeah. I think going right into halftime, AJ Mitchell was out there, and he had that dime to Isaiah Joe for the 3 up on the left wing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Joe had a good game. I mean, this was Caruso's best game for sure.
Yeah.
In the Thunder uniform, it felt like, offensively, especially. Defensively, he's had some insane games so far, but he hit 2 threes, guys. He can shoot. I promise you. I know some Thunder fans were freaking out that he couldn't shoot. He can shoot. I promise. But had 10 points, 4 boards, and assists and a steal, and 60% shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. And again, it's like so much stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. He's just a game-breaking player defensively.
I think one of the things I wanted to I wanted to get all of your guys' take, and maybe Dylan when he's get back can throw his thoughts into. But Kaysen started this game, and it's not his first time he started, but Jace Hoops, I think is his put out a little graphic that was interesting. I know Dylan saw it, but between Joe, Kaysen, and Wiggins, who've kind of been rotating in and out from the starting role, by far the best net rating has been Kaysen. I think he was like plus 10 or something like that. Aaron Wiggins was like plus 2 or 3, and then Joe was, I think, like net 0 or something like that. But I personally I think Kaysen makes the most sense in the starting lineup, partly because when he's in the starting rotation, the offensive rating goes a little bit down, but you're also not really needing Kaysen to be a contributor offensively if Shai in the starting lineup is on the floor, and his defensive impact is going to be very, very, very good. And then the other thing is, like, I feel like Wiggins is just such a valuable part of the bench. And
yeah,
like he was he was 3 of 9 tonight, so like wasn't the most efficient, but 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Like he's doing everything, and he's just one of those guys that whenever he comes off the bench, he's immediately ready to go. He doesn't need to like kind of get into the rhythm of the offense. He's just there. And so I feel like that's a very valuable thing to have. So I don't know. To me, I'm a big fan of Kaysen kind of staying consistently in the starting rotation and just having Wiggins and Joe off the bench. That just makes the most sense to me. But
I think with what Wiggins does off the bench, Kaysen's grown a lot more as a ball handler and as an offensive player to start this season. Wiggins does have more comfort, it feels like, in that role. And I do think having him off the bench there is big, especially when, you can have Caruso coming off the bench too, alongside him to be that defensive pest.
Right.
And I think that what's really going to be interesting is when Hartenstein comes back. What do we do with the starting lineup? Is it just still switching in a Kaysen or an Isaiah Joe or a Wiggins or Caruso? How often does he ever get in there, if ever? Is it Isaiah Hartenstein getting in at some points? Like, what do we see from the starting lineup? I'm very curious to see that. And it's just going to add a whole new dimension to the team. It is fun, though, that the team is unpredictable with the starting lineup. I feel like it makes it harder to scheme against the Thunder because you can't just be like, okay, in the first quarter, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because you don't know who theoretically they're going to be starting out there. Maybe it gets a little bit more stagnant and a little bit more consistent when you do get Hartenstein back, but I don't know.
I feel like the Denver game, didn't they announce Kaysen and then switch it to who was it, Joe?
Isaiah Joe. Yeah. I think it started as Kaysen. They switched to Isaiah Joe like a little bit before tip.
Just more unpredictability.
Yeah, there's always something with this Thunder team.
Someone in the chat was saying Hart is coming back the 25th, which is in 17 days. I don't know if I've seen an official report on that.
Yeah, I think that's his reevaluation date.
Got it.
That should be about when he gets reevaluated. So we'll see where Hartenstein's at that point. But I think that would be that he wouldn't miss. He's not supposed to miss that many games left. It's funny because I remember when I saw the injury, I was like, damn, like that's gonna be a little while away. And now it's like
2 weeks. We also we do have a lot of games though packed in those 2 weeks. So
say he came back the first game after the 25th, he would miss 8 more games. 8 more games.
So that'd be game 17, 18, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and that's a lot of season for him to come back and kind of build chemistry with the guys. So
it'd be 16-1 when that happens. So
that'd be nice. That would be nice. We do have a decently tough stretch coming up. It's Golden State, it's the Clippers, it's the Pelicans, who are kind of bad right now. Then it's Phoenix, Dallas. We do get a little break, though, with San Antonio and Portland. And then we have Sacramento on the 25th. Golden State's the 27th. Lakers are the 29th. So somewhere probably in that stretch of games, we hopefully see Isaiah Hartenstein come back. But yeah, it's going to be a tough stretch without him. But I guess, this team hasn't really – up until that loss to the Nuggets, every game outside the Nuggets game, they've won by at least 12 points. So
yeah, Dylan, we've been discussing all but one particular player who did very well. So we would like to leave that to you now.
I could just imagine that it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
It was good guess.
Good guess, Dylan.
I was gonna be like, was it a guard from Kentucky? So I can talk about Case Wallace as well. But Shai was absolutely phenomenal tonight. His field goal percentage doesn't even tell the story of like just how dominant he was in this game, because he started getting a little rambunctious there at the end of the third quarter. 29 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, a block. He shot 68.8% from the field, only missed 5 shots. But like I said, there was a point he was like 11 of 12. I think even 12 of 13. Yeah, he got a little rambunctious there at the end. Got a couple turnovers there too. He had 3 turnovers on the game. I think 2 of them were there in that quarter as well.
Yep.
Only shot 2 threes, made one of those. As Cone said earlier, he got to the line 7 times, made 6 of those. And he was just unstoppable, man. Didn't matter who they threw at him. Dylan Brooks, everybody, regards Dylan Brooks as this hard-nosed defender. Obviously, he's got history with Shai and Team Canada. Like, blow right by him. Jalen Green, he's athletic. He's got all the tools. Blow right by him. Amen Thompson, who was billed as, one of the best defenders in that draft class. There was the craft that Shai exhibited on one of the plays. I think it was his, I think it was his 6th point that he got. Amon Thompson was guarding him up at the top of the key. He just did a subtle in and out dribble. Amon was right there with him step by step. Shai pro hopped and then stepped through on a a left-handed layup on the right side of the rim. Just filthy, just absolute filthy. And it set, it set the tone. His first 3 buckets set the tone for what kind of night Shai was going to have, because he got a tough right-handed scoop off glass to start the game. He got a midi where he just broke down Dylan Brooks for the first of many times, right after that. And then he had that, like I said, that one where he just walked his way to the rim past Amon Thompson with the lefty scoop on the right side. And then it just continued, man. Ongoing assault at the rim, every angle that you could possibly imagine, right side, left side, same hand, offhand, midi pull-ups, that 3-pointer catch and shoot off of a scramble from Case and Wallace there towards the end of the 3rd quarter. He was just absolutely in his bag. If this game went on and it was competitive, he could have had 40. He could have pushed for his career high. That's how much he was in the zone tonight. And we kind of talked about it. The Shai bounce back game was so predictable. Anybody could have guessed this, because he wasn't bad scoring. I think without having it in front of me, he scored 28 against the Nuggets the other night too.
Yeah,
that's what I thought. So he wasn't bad scoring. It's just had some turnovers down the stretch, missed some shots that he usually hits. But tonight it's no, everything that you expect from Shai, you got out of Shai. And yeah, he was just absolutely phenomenal, man. There's not much left to say about it.
Yeah, it was some really tough defense. There was that one play at the end of the 3rd quarter, I think, where Amon Thompson stayed with him really, really well, and he just hit a step back midi right over him. It's like he wasn't even there. That one clip I posted on Twitter of him cooking Dylan Brooks on that breakdown, where he's hitting multiple hezzies and in and outs, and then kind of goes and then immediately stops, and Dylan Brooks goes back a little bit and tries to move back up, and Shai goes again. He then goes back again, and he just pulls up right over him from mid range. One of the deepest bags, one of the best space creators I've ever seen play basketball. There are very few players in the history of the game that can create space the way that Shai does. It's such a unique way as well, because it's not obviously he's a great athlete, but he's not this super explosive guy who's going to just have the most, he doesn't have all this verticality to him, really. It's just a lot of side-to-side movement and hesitation and ball fakes, and then just the fact that he's tall enough to just shoot right over you. It's almost Kevin Durant-esque in a way sometimes, the way that he gets to those spots relentlessly and then just pulls up right over players. I know we've been comparing all of our guys to Kevin Durant, which I'm sure a lot of people aren't going to be happy with. But I don't know. There's just a little bit of that there, man. I don't know.
I don't know if you mentioned it, Dylan, or I had to step away for a second, but this felt to me it felt like this was the first game where he consistently throughout the 30 minutes that he played always got to the shot that he wanted to and was making it at the clip that we've expected him to make it. And not to say that he's been inefficient at any of these games this year. I mean, obviously the 8 turnovers in the Nuggets game was very unheard of and a very outlier-esque type of game, but you knew after that he was going to have a bounce back game because he was going to be motivated. And even with Dylan Brooks or Amon Thompson, that last shot with Amon Thompson in the first half where Amon Thompson played really good defense, but it just didn't even matter because he's just so unguardable. That type of ability to either get the shot you want or just if the defense isn't giving it to you, take another shot and still be efficient at it that is the Shai we saw pretty much every game last season. And so now we're still very early. This feels like the start of where that's going to keep happening again. That he's back into full season form, offensively, and still defensively very disruptive. He had a steal on Dylan Brooks there in I think the second half where he just kind of took the ball away. So still a great two-way guard, but Shai's him. He's him.
And a lot more mid-range jumpers in this game after everybody on Twitter is freaking out. They're did they force Shai to stop taking middies? He's only a threes and a layups player now.
I think that's the defense just giving him that. I don't think he intentionally took less.
He said that after the game too. He said that all he's been doing is taking what the defense is giving him.
Yeah, that's his quote card.
I would argue the defense gave you a look at a mid-range jump shot at the end of the Nuggets game too, but that's besides the point.
I mean that was just a good block by Peyton Watson. I think that was a good shot.
No, it was. I think he hesitated like a moment. Like I think he got froze just a moment on like, am I taking the shot or should I lob it to Chet? Because like it was there, I think. But that's besides the point.
Which, by the way, Shai threw a lob to Chet.
Yeah,
we did see that.
Yep.
It happened live in front of our own two eyes.
Fire the alarms. A Shai to Chet lob.
Nice. I was actually
chemistry on that.
I was going to mention, he had some really good passes in this game. Like his assist wasn't as high. Like I've noticed, like with him and Jalen Williams, usually like if they start getting a lot of buckets, they aren't getting a lot of assists just because like they're the hot hand and the other guy kind of picks up the slack. Tonight it was AJ Mitchell picked up the slack on the assist, but in the third quarter specifically, they started doubling Shai like really hard, like toward like right across the half court line. And he had some really good passes out of the double team. One where he had Caruso. It wasn't even really a roller. Caruso was just kind of sitting in the lane, and Shai was able to put it right in front of him, lead him to the layup. And he had another one in a similar situation. I can't remember who it was he hit, but, again, it was out of the double team, and it was a really nice read. Like I said, that was when he wasn't feeling the need to kind of force stuff towards the end of the quarter. Just really playing within himself, as he was saying, taking what the defense gave to him. And man, it just goes to show you, like we've said all along, like when people was freaking out about like the high volume 3-point shot, which I think he's overcorrected a little bit, by the way. It's one thing to not shoot 8 3-pointers, but like you don't gotta go all the way back to 2 in one attempt. Like 4 or 5, like I'm cool with. I think that's a good number for Shai. But everybody's freaking out about that, about like, oh, he's one of the most efficient superstars in the league without having a 3. Why would he change that? And I always said that's not going anywhere. He can always tap into that. He can tap into that whenever he wants to. And this goes to show you, like, as soon as he wants to, there's been other games like, that we've seen. What was it? The Clippers game for one, the Nuggets game in stretches. Like, he dialed down the 3-point attempts and, he stuck to his bread and butter, put his head down, got to the rim, got to the line, got to his spots. Like, he can get that whenever he wants. But in order for him to be this just mythical being in terms of an offensive player, if he adds, not like an Anthony Edwards shot diet from the 3-point line or anything like that, but if he gets like 4 or 5 attempts a game consistently and he's knocking down, 2.5 threes a game, like, yeah, he's going to be absolutely like ethereal.
I wasn't against his lack of 3-point shooting, even though I am a fan of him taking more. Like I said, I think it's just what the defense gave. But I guess if you were to, put a microscope underneath it, you could argue that in a game where you're up by 20 consistently, he can be a little bit more loose with the
experimental.
Yeah, experimental. So there's that to be said. But I don't know, it's some days you just don't choose many threes, and it was one of those days.
Yeah, it feels like the league as a whole to start the season was just like, we need to shoot more threes. Like, this has to be something we do. And it feels like over the course of the last few games that I've watched for a lot of different teams, that's regressed a little bit. I think it was just kind of a league-wide thing that's going on. And obviously, Shai can still get to the spots. So the people that think Shai's broken, he's not going to shoot 5 threes a game because he feels like he needs to. It's like if he feels like he can kind of get to that shot. It's something we've always seen Shai do this. Every season, it feels like Shai starts off a little bit different with the shot diet. And then, like Goat just said in the chat, just him adding to his game, making him and the rest of those guys even more dangerous. Like, if Shai can show off that he can hit that pull-up 3, it's something that defenders are going to have to consider and they're going to have to think about. And if we reach a point where we're down 3 in a game and we're coming downhill and it's like, they're trying to figure out what the play is, a lot of times it's always been that step-back 3 for Shai. Now, if you can go ahead and get to that pull-up 3, it's something else that the defense has to consider. So it's just putting more weapons into the arsenal, just making the team more and more dangerous. Like, Shai shooting not great from 3 and putting up like a billion of them. I don't care when we're 8-1 to start the season. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's all about winning a championship. Shai's going to get his. The team's going to be fine. Develop stuff for the playoffs, because we saw in the playoffs we needed a bit more of an offensive punch. Not that needed to come from Shai, but just finding more weapons makes it easier on everyone. So,
yeah, for sure. And I know you guys said you touched on everything else, but I just wanted to say I love how loud our defense is. Like, we make loud
That's a Caruso
plays.
Effect, I think.
It's not even just Caruso. It's across the board. Like, Casey Wallace exploded at the rim to meet Jalen Green up there on the fast break in the first quarter. Like, that was like, that play didn't get enough like attention for what it was. Like, that was insane. Jalen Green's one of the like the top like 1% of athletes in the NBA. And Casey Wallace met him at the apex of his jump to contest him in transition. Obviously, Caruso, like, just tipping passes like a madman. Chet, like, his blocks aren't just like, tipping the fingertips. Like, he's swatting the crap out of people. Shai's ripping people. Wiggins had a crazy rip from Atari. Like, a little taste of, the defense's own medicine, because, they do this to Chet all the time on spin moves. Tari Eason had a spin move in the third quarter, and Wiggins just, like, strong hand ripped it off of him, made it go off of his leg. Like, I love how loud our defense is. And, like, obviously we know how good it is. We know that it's historically good at this rate, but it just makes it that much more fun to watch.
When you said loud, I thought you meant at first literally loud, communicative. That's why I was saying Caruso is effective that. Like, he literally will, like, talk to people. But you were also correct. They are figuratively loud as well because of those plays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of steals, a lot of blocks, and it's highlight ones. Just good for the Chet Depoy agenda. So we'll take it. Today, Chet would 100% be on an all-defensive team. I think he's the defensive player of the year. I think Caruso would absolutely be on there as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if you could also fit like a Lou Dort or I think Casey Wallace is deserving of also consideration for an all-defense spot this early in the season. Like, I don't know if he's going to play enough minutes to get the love for it, but he's a guy who I think could be in that type of conversation.
Shai and Caruso both have Depoy odds. I don't see Lou Dort, so I don't know how that factors into the all defense. But
yeah, it's hard to say. But
Dort is there. Okay, never mind.
The fact that the Thunder have a historic defense right now, I don't think them getting 3 all defensive guys is out of the question. They'll for sure get 2 if it keeps going this way. Chet and Caruso will 1,000% be on an all defensive team. We'll have to see though for the rest of the guys.
I know we said at the beginning it's realistic what they're doing defensively, but in reality is like a 95 defensive rating. That feels like where we're going to end up, especially with Hartenstein coming back in however many weeks.
Yeah. And I'll just say it's like a testament to the defense once again. Like I said, we don't want to talk about the Nuggets game, but a lot of people harped on Caruso's offensive performance in the Nuggets game. But down the stretch, like whenever we was trying to come back, because people don't remember, like we were down 10, like with like 2 minutes left. And yeah, we had to make some shots, but like we had to really lock down on defense and like create some stops. And Caruso was flying around like a madman, tipping balls, ripping balls. Like he was everywhere. Like he's a huge reason why we had a chance to even have a shot at the end. Right. But with that being said, I've got to go because Nova is being a jerk and will not go to sleep. And Chelsea's been dealing with it all day. And we tried to make it happen, but it's not working out. So I got to peace out, y'all.
No worries.
We'll hit you up another time. Chat. Peace out.
Peace out.
Okay, man. Take care of you.
We got it from here. So, yeah, I mean, I think we hit pretty much everything on this game. I don't think
there's much more to go into. I feel like we can just, real quick, an interesting stat. Last season, the Minnesota Timberwolves were the best defense in the NBA. So right now the Thunder have a defensive rating of 97.3. Timberwolves are the best defense in the NBA last season. Do you know what their defensive rating was?
Last season?
They were the best defense in the NBA.
It's probably over 100. I'd say
It is over 100.
105.
108.4.
Whoa, so, I was highballing it there. Damn.
Yeah, 108.4. So right now the Thunder have an 11.4 or 11.1 point differential in favor of them over last year's best defense. So if you want context, which right now 97.3 is where they're at. That would put the Thunder, if that lasted the whole season, which we'll have to see if it's going to end up that low. I don't know if it will or not. But 97.3 would have them tied for the 25th best defense in the history of the sport.
I was going to ask, like, what's the top one?
Best defensive rating was ever 91.3 in the 70s. There has not been a defense that has been this good since 2004. So this right now is the best defense in 20 years.
I feel like that team in 71, you have to account for, like, it's like accounting for inflation. Like, the offense wasn't the same. So
yeah, the only one in the 2000s, there are only two defenses that are in the 2000s in that top 25, or three rather. It was the Pacers in 03-04 at 24th best all time. The Pistons that year, which is considered one of the best defenses ever, at 14th. And then the Spurs, also from that year, 94.1. So outside of that year, every other defense is from 1973 to 1976, or like there's one in in 1999. So this is basically unprecedented what the Thunder have started off the season doing in the modern era, with the 3-point shot being the way that it is, which is especially crazy because last year, I mean, over the past few years, it's been nonstop offensive records being broken left and right. Right now, I think the Cavs have the best. Yeah, right now the Cavs have the best offense in NBA history, best offensive rating. And last year there was Celtics set that record. So it keeps getting broken, and in a time where offense is kind of thriving. If you thought defense in basketball was dead, you can take a look at some Thunder basketball.
Welcome to Loud City. Yeah, I wish there was a way to filter those defensive ratings from like a year where the 3-point ball became, I guess, like when Curry came into the league, but like somewhere in that timeline, because that is like a major shift in when the scoring would be kind of skewed. Because I do think at the end of the year, this will be one of the best defenses statistically, but obviously like those 70s and 80s teams are going to, on paper, look a little bit different. So maybe that's something we can
I'm going to see if I can find best defensive rating in a single season by an NBA team.
Because that was
since 2015-16, which is when Steph won that first unanimous MVP.
Right.
Thunder have the best defense if it holds, 97.3. Then it's the Spurs at 99 in 2015-16. The Hawks at 101.4 in 2016. 102.9 from the Bucks in 2020. 2016 Pacers had a 102.9. So like pretty much all these defenses are from like 2016 when that like 3-point revolution really started. And now that it's the way that it's happened, it's rare. Like I honestly thought, and maybe the Thunder might not get there, but I never thought we would have a team with a defensive rating ever under 100 again. I don't know if the Thunder are going to hold quite there because it's really hard to keep teams that low forever. I think they'll get into a few shootouts over the course of the season where it's like they win 135 to like 130 or something like that, and that cooks the number a little bit. But man, the fact that through almost 10 games the Thunder are at this point is kind of ridiculous, especially again with Hartenstein not being out there.
Yeah, I think part of the reason it's been so low, I think we mentioned this on another podcast, is that with the offense prior to today not being as prolific, we've kind of grinded teams down rather than getting in these shootouts. And I think once the offense kind of picks up like it seems like it is, we're going to have more of these shootouts and more of these fast-paced games, and that's just going to lead to more points. And so, yeah, the more I think it through, it's probably not going to be sticking around 97. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Thunder also right now, after the Warriors lost today, best net rating in the league at a 15 on the season.
Love to see that.
And the offense went from 21st ranked in the NBA to 16th. So they're already almost back to a top 10 offense after that one game. So
yeah. I think this was, if you were one of the many who was worried about the Thunder offense, we went up against a top 5 defense and scored 120 very easily and had our bench in the last 5 minutes. So I think we're all the way back in that category. So
yeah, and they'll have another good test too on the next game against the Golden State Warriors. They're right now the second best defense, like we talked about. That'll be a good test for them. I'm excited for that. And the Cavaliers as well have been top 10 defensively. The Clippers are the 5th best defense.
Yep.
Mavs right now are number 6, so we play in a little bit. Suns are 9th. We have a lot of good defensive teams coming up. So if you want to see a little bit more from the Thunder offense, this is a chance for them to go ahead and show you. And I think they're going to do that. I think they'll showcase how ridiculous they are offensively, because really all it's going to take is just more regression to the mean from some of the shooters. And it's like, what do you do against the Thunder at that point?
So yeah, Warriors Sunday. Second of the back-to-back is Clippers Monday, Pelicans Wednesday, Suns next Friday, and then next Sunday is the Mavs. All those at home though. It was one of
Yeah, it
six
is
on a
nice
home
that they go
stretch.
through that first tough stretch being
Yeah.
at home. We want to predict the rest of this homestand, see what we're going to end up at. So it's like Tierney said, Warriors and Clippers back to back, Pelicans, Suns, and that Suns game, first NBA Cup game, by the way. So if you're looking for the Thunder to go ahead and win that and grab some type of hardware this season, that starts on that Friday, and then the Mavericks that Sunday too. So
yeah, I think we did the whole week with Jerry the other day. I don't remember what I did though, so I'm probably going to contradict myself. I'm going to say,
okay.
yeah, I'm going to say, I think the only loss is going to be against, unfortunately, the Suns, which is that NBA Cup game. Of those 5 teams that we play on that home stretch, I think they've been the most impressive so far. So, yeah, I'll go 4-1. And we're not going to win an NBA Cup. We're going to win a different trophy.
There's a different trophy I'd rather have. I'm really tempted to say 5-0. I think it's 5-0 or 4-1. I could see us losing to the Mavs or the Suns. Those are 2 pretty good teams. The Warriors are also really good, and they're coming off a big loss to the Cavs. They might come out guns blazing, but I also just don't think the Warriors are quite as good as their record indicates. I think they're a good team, and they're better than I was expecting for sure. But I don't think Buddy Hield's going to hit 400 threes in a season. It's just not going to happen. So I expect them to come back down to earth a little bit. I mean, they just got trounced by the Cavs, who just kind of clamped up and really couldn't miss either. So I don't think the Warriors played like that bad. They just couldn't get anything to go. But I think the Thunder defense is going to be a huge obstacle for the Warriors. So I think we win that game. I'm not really worried about us beating the Clippers or the Pelicans.
Do you worry that the Clippers are just the wall is just too much for them, but they're actually really good on the road?
No, not really. I mean, Harden's not going to score against Caruso. He's not going to score against Dort. Dort always succeeds against James Harden. It's going to be hard for him to score against like Kaysen. Norman Powell's really good, but I don't think he stands much of a chance against the Thunder defenders. I don't know. I mean, we beat them by 13 points, 105-92 at Intuit Dome already.
Their worst place to play for the Clippers.
Yeah, so far it's been bad. I mean, right on the road right now, they are beating the Sacramento Kings. But yeah, I just don't think the Clippers are going to have what it takes to take down the Thunder at home. Pelicans are a disaster right now. They are so injured. I don't think the Pelicans beat us either. Yeah, I'm going to say 5-0. Screw it. I'm going to say 5-0.
Hell yeah.
Someone had to do it. I think we end up 13-1 after this. And then after that, we play the Spurs and the Blazers. And they could be 17-1. Or, sorry, 15-1. Excuse me.
It is back-to-back traveling because we're in San Antonio and then back home. So, travel-wise, a little bit of something.
We have a weird... Oh, it's because of Thanksgiving, I guess. We have a big gap. We play Wednesday, November 20th, and then the 25th.
Thanksgiving's the next week. I think that's just a weird thing in the schedule. Thanksgiving's the 28th. I don't know why we have a 4 days off.
Yeah, that's because I was thinking it was because of the NBA Cup for them to organize.
Yeah. But we also play like 8 games in 13 days, so it's like just all packed in, and then we have this weird gap of time. So
yeah,
I think it's just like a scheduling thing.
Yeah, I first saw that gap. I was like, oh, this is NBA Cup stuff, but no, the Cup's not over by that point. Start playing like the playoff.
That's
part.
in December. Yeah.
Yeah. What the?
Yeah,
because we play the Blazers the 20th. And we don't play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We play next Monday, the 25th. So,
I'm not looking forward to that.
They'll be very rested going into Sacramento, which is a place where the Thunder have some trouble sometimes. So,
yeah, and that's like a pretty major road stretch, 4 games. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a preview in November. But yeah, odd schedule for this year. Before we get off, Cone, if you could humor me, I do have an NBA tier list that I'd like to show you.
Yeah, go for it.
And you can critique it and say it's horrible. I'm going to post it tomorrow. So last week on Friday, we had some teams at the top. We've moved some stuff around. So I'd like to debut this week's. I will need to, I'm putting a juggernaut category in the tier list. The one team that's just been unbelievable this week. It's the Cavs. They're 10-0. I mean, makes sense.
Yeah.
Title contenders, I've moved the Suns up. It was the Celtics and the Thunder. Suns, I think, look really good. Then we've got the playoff contenders, mostly Western Conference teams because the West is awesome. Mavs, Warriors, and Timberwolves. We have the Knicks thrown in there as well in the East. And then I've got, they think they're playoff contenders with the Rockets, Lakers, and Clippers. Next, we have the just fun teams. Not very playoff contender-esque, but fun. The Grizz and the Kings. I've liked them both. They've been fun to watch. Good but not fun. Miami Heat have not been fun. Have not enjoyed watching their basketball games. The next one, we had the Atlanta Hawks tier list last week because I didn't know where to put the Atlanta Hawks. I couldn't tell if they were good or bad. I've moved them down a little bit, and now it's the Pacers. I have no idea what to think about the Indiana Pacers.
They're a weird team.
Yeah, they're a weird team, so I don't know. And then the tier list that I've introduced now is the injured or panic button, Cone. It's the are they just too injured, or do we hit the panic button on this team? It might be both. It might be one or the other. I've got the Nuggets. I've got the Pelicans and the Bucks. The Magic, obviously, with Paolo. It's pretty obvious where their injury is. And then the 76ers were recently entered into this as a either or because I'm a little bit panic button about that team. And then bad but fun is the Hawks, the Nets, Hornets, Bulls, and we've moved up the Pistons this week. And then finally, the bad and not fun. It's the Wizards, Jazz, Raptors, and the Blazers and the Spurs. And there is our week 2 tier list. Cone, is there any team in this where you're like, move them somewhere else? They need to be elsewhere.
I think you can move the Nuggets back. I think you can move the Nuggets up to playoff contenders. They're 6-3 now. They've put it together a little bit. They're looking a lot more like the Nuggets. Also, the Jokic has just been otherworldly at this point. I still worry about them in the playoffs when it comes to that shooting. I don't know how reliable it's going to be, but Christian Brown's been stepping up. Guys have been hitting shots, so I think they're pretty good at this point. I feel good about your injured or panic button tier. I love the Pacers being in the Atlanta Hawks tier out of everything. I think the Rockets probably go down to just fun team. I don't really think the Rockets. The same thing with the Clippers. I don't know. Honestly, I think the Grizzlies and Kings should be up in the one above with the Lakers, and then the Clippers move down to just fun.
You think Grizzlies and Kings think they're playoff contenders? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think. Although I mean, the Clippers are beating the Kings right now, but they're outside of the Intuit Dome. The second you take the Clippers out of the Intuit Dome, they're just the best team ever assembled. Yeah. I don't know. The Clippers are one of those teams where they're scrappy and really annoying to play against. Also, Norman Powell is just that guy. All of a sudden, he's got 28 right now. He's averaging 25 on the season. That's not even accounting for the game today because the stats haven't updated. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the tier list overall is pretty good. The Cavs make sense to have up there at the top being a juggernaut. They are 10-0 right now. The Suns have looked like the second best team in the Western Conference up until this point, mainly because they've actually been clutch. Last year, they're one of the worst good teams ever in the clutch. They had it
was 20-21, I think was the stat in clutch time, was the graphic.
Yeah, they were, and their net rating last year in the fourth quarter was like on par with the full season net ratings of the worst teams in NBA history. The second you got to the fourth quarter, the Suns just collapsed, and now they've played 6 clutch games out of their 9, and they're 6-0 in clutch games so far. So they've really figured that out. Mike Budenholzer's been a breath of fresh air. They've got point guards now, which are helping out. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a pretty good tier list overall. I think you did a good job.
Perfect, thank you. Well, we're going to post it tomorrow then. That is all for our Around the NBA. Then we'll get rid of that. So, I think we covered everything. Good stuff.
Yeah,
right around an hour.
A lot. Yeah, right about here. If we finish it up, we could wrap it up like right on the hour mark. So, yeah, we appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. Glad to be back, man. Happy to be back talking Thunder basketball again. Hopefully we'll be on more regularly as I kind of get into my schedule here now with more stuff on my plate. But as always, leave a like, subscribe here on the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live following games. I know Tierney's been doing a lot of just post-game recap stuff, a lot of live streams the second that games end. So a shout out to him for doing all that, putting the team on his back. If you're over on a podcast platform, rate 5 stars, download all that stuff, leave a comment, and let us know how you feel about the Thunder right now. What's your current feelings at this moment? Obviously, the record's good, but is there anything that's impressed you, disappointed you, surprised you? Generally, just let us know. And yeah, we appreciate y'all. What does Dylan usually say? I always forget what he says. God bless.
God bless.
Hoop when you can, not while you can. I said that last time. Hoop when you can.
Hoop while you can.
Hoop while. That's gonna be my thing from now on.
Yeah.
God
Very
bless.
ominous.
Hoop while you can, as always.